right, welcome back to another episode of Straight Down the Middle. We are joined by a very special guest, a PGA Tour champion, and also known as the short game chef, Mr. Parker McLachlin. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, nice to be here with the boys.
We always give golf claps, but it's a little weird. We're holding the mics.
We're on the road with the podcast for a few weeks.
It's great to see you. I just saw you. We just played together in Puerto Rico. It's weird having you in our backyard.
36 holes. It was probably a lot.
We get paired a lot together. We do. I know. God, I don't know if that's a good thing for you.
No, I've seen a few of your epic club throws.
You have?
Yeah.
I feel like.
Do you want me to give you the best one that I have?
Yeah.
I know why they Parker's calm persona. They pair him with you because he's the calming influence.
I feel like I'm pretty calm.
If they put you with like someone else, Spence Levine or something, it's just a volcano.
Yeah. All right, so let me give you this quick Matt Every story. We're at AT&T Pebble Beach 4 years ago.
A lot of them I don't remember, bro.
You remember this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like one of the last guys in the field. And so anyway, I get there like Wednesday night. I was actually in Panama, and I flew out of Panama. I was going to be playing, but I flew out of Panama.
Similar.
Yeah, you were probably there too. And so anyway, I'm getting in the tournament. We get paired together.
How good did I play that week?
Out of the gate, you were 5 under on the first 9 holes.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, oh, fuck, he's going.
Yeah.
And so, anyhow, I think you bogeyed 1, and then.
You're talking about at Monterey?
Yeah. So we played the back 9 first. Front 9, you bogeyed 1. And you're still 4 under, still basically like leading the golf tournament. Get to 6, the par 5. I think you'd made 1 more birdie.
Uh-huh.
Get to 6, the par 5, and you're waiting for the green to clear. You'd smashed a drive off the tee, waiting for the green to clear. And this green has got this front level, then it goes way up top, up to the back level, and you're trying to get it up on that back little area. So anyway, you hit this unbelievable 3-wood from like 270.
Top 5 in the air. I had to ride the wind to get it there, and I just pulled it off. It was such a sick shot in the air. And go ahead.
Yeah, so it was a sick shot in the air. So
I know where this is going.
Yeah, so
without even knowing the details.
So you were waiting for the green to clear. So me, Harris Barton, and Ross Buckmuller, the Pure Insurance CEO. So we walk up about 50, 60 yards. We're waiting for you, who's waiting for the green to clear. So this thing in the air, I'm looking up. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This thing's going to be like 12 feet. Right. And so I watch the ball, right, and the ball gets up to the top, and then it starts trickling back. And I was like, man, I know he hit such a good shot there. He's going to be so mad. I should probably just look back. So I look back, and as I look back, you're in mid-throw. Right?
Oh, God, dude, I was so fired up. It almost hit, what's his name? Harris. Yeah. So I felt like such an asshole after that. So a lot of them I don't care. But that one I remember being like,
way to turn a positive into a negative. Just hit a great shot. Result is not completely out of control. Not to be sports psychologist.
It was one of the sickest shots I've ever hit, and it just sucks seeing it roll. At the time, most of my outbursts come when I'm playing really well. I don't get to do it a lot. It kind of sucks. Yeah.
Well, so we're 50, 60 yards up there, and I see this thing take off. And I'm watching it, and it is helicoptering, and it's going right at Harris, who's a 270-pound former lineman for the San Francisco Giants, San Francisco 49ers. And I was like, Harris, duck! And then he ducks, man. Right? And this thing goes right over his head. And he was like,
God.
Wow. He's like, that was an impressive club throw.
Yeah, he probably would have ate me if it hit
him. He was like, what's up, Matt? And Matt's like, you guys good? Like, yeah, we're good. Are you good?
Oh, dude, I was just,
You're in the moment. You're heated. You wanted to play well.
How many putts? Was there 2 or 3 putts after that? It sounds like it rolled back down the hill.
Probably 3. I mean, I don't know. I think maybe 2.
Yeah, I think you 2-putted it.
Great recovery.
It is. Oh, what a sick shot. I'm glad you remembered that. I forgot
it was a
about
sick
that.
shot.
Yeah. Let's talk about you. Yeah, that's why we're here. Okay, so you are transitioning into this coaching role, and you're doing it beautifully, by the way.
Thanks.
What's it been like?
Yeah, I mean, how it started was, you introduced me as Short Game Chef, which is my Instagram handle.
Give it
at Short Game Chef.
Who gave you that name?
I gave it to myself, but it was our boy Doug Schwim.
Oh, little Dougie.
Schwimmy.
Yeah,
I just sent him a package in the mail.
Yeah, little Dougie encouraged
Did you
me
really?
to join Instagram, and he's like, "Hey, you should put some short game stuff out on Instagram."
People love
some
Brett,
how-tos.
like Brett Rumford, who you'd know. Like, he has a huge, like, the guy, it's mesmerizing, some of the stuff, and people love that.
It's crazy. And so Dougie videoed my first like 12 videos, and that's how it started. And a couple days later, Kevin Streelman reached out, and the first paid lesson that I gave was to the guy ranked 93rd in the world. And I was like, all right, I guess I've got to figure this out.
I'm a coach now.
Yeah. And so that's sort of how it started. That was 3 years ago. And I think, I'm about to hit 100,000 followers on Instagram.
Dude, I just saw that.
Probably, yeah.
That's incredible.
What a world.
That's wild.
I know.
Are you getting any pip from that? I mean,
You'd think, right?
You should.
think, like,
I mean,
Should.
does the Island
growing
Tour
the
qualify
game.
as a full member?
yeah.
No.
But you've also done, like, you're doing a collaboration with the Cushnet, right? With Vokey wedges. So it's you're all over the radar.
I've taken a deep dive into the whole short game thing.
Yeah.
And the thought process is taking what the tour players that we've sort of know and what we've done throughout our whole careers, and taking the things that we do to stack the odds in our favor, and helping the amateur understand how to do those things, like use the bounce, proper release in the bunker, when to hit it on the ground, when to go up in the air, and if you're going to go up in the air, how to do it, and all that stuff. So it's helping the amateur golfer modernize their short game has basically been the mission statement for the last year.
Give it like a full swing explanation of the bounce.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is the very last thing a decent amateur gets good at.
Yeah.
You know, they can all start driving
That's
the ball well.
a great way to put
Iron
it.
shots, they can even start pitching it even decent from 80 yards. But the shots around the greens, you'll see a guy who's a 3 who hits it like a +2, but his short game's like a 10. It's just neglected because it's sexy to hit balls on the range and it's easy. It's not that fun to be chipping shots over a bunker for a guy who's not good at it.
Yeah, exactly. And I just find it's such a different skill set to go from having 170 ball speed for an amateur to then being able to slow it down properly.
It's so
Yeah.
humbling. It's so humbling for these guys who, like the ex-athletes or whatever, who get good because they're natural athletes, to just have to stand there and just be chunking it into the bunkers. They don't want to do it because you feel like an idiot.
Yeah, you'd much rather stand and
Smoke
bomb
balls.
3 woods, 280.
And people are like, you should join the tour, man. You're good. And they're like, the good ones are like, yeah, watch me hit the shot over the bunker. But again, that's why, you don't have to go and do it. Your access to Instagram and stuff, people are getting information online.
Yeah, and that's sort of where this whole thing has sort of started and evolved to. I just finished building this website, shortgamechef.com, where I walk people through step by step as to how to pitch, how to bump and run, how to flop shot,
Awesome.
how to cure the chipping yips. It's probably the greatest series that I have done video wise. It's like a series of like 30 videos that walks you through step by step as to how to cure the chipping yips.
Well, step one for those guys is, if you haven't had a lesson from Short Game Chef, putt. So many guys try to chip when they can putt. There's plenty of times you can't putt.
Yep.
There's plenty of times you can. Just putt it up there. My best buddy back home, Poulos, he putts from like 20 yards off. Tim Clark.
Yeah.
Just putt it.
So getting, all right, you're going from player to coach,
Back to player.
back to player sometimes.
To commentating this week.
Sure.
That's right. PGA Tour Live does it with Matt and I.
But when you're teaching a 15 handicap versus a tour player, I mean, you're working two different ways, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, the tour player is looking for like that much. Right. Even like this week, I was having breakfast on Monday morning or Tuesday morning, and Akshay sat down and he was like, hey man, he's like, do you have time for me this week? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm trying to play, And he's like, well, I just need I need a little bit of help trying to figure out this shot and when to choose this shot. And I'm like, yeah, let's just be in touch and I'd be happy to help you. And he goes on to finish second. I don't think he needed any of my help.
Yeah.
But it's just, a tour player needs this much, right? A 15 handicapper, they need an entire, like 101 class on whatever they're struggling with, whether it's chipping, pitching, bunkering, flop shot, whatever it might be.
Two different satisfactions, I'm guessing. I don't coach. I'm hopeless. But getting the 15 handicapper to the smile on his face to be able to get it over that bunker or bump it into the bank, it's probably as satisfying as seeing Ches Reavie get up and down to, top 10 or whatever. There's got different elements of satisfaction as well.
For sure. Yeah, I would totally agree with that, because I think, like, I mean, I've helped 35 plus people out of the chipping yips, like literally in
that's amazing.
In an hour or 2 hours of a session, they've gone from blade chunk to then by the end they're like nip, and it's unbelievable.
I'm subscribing after we wrap this up.
Are you
I
getting
did have the Tim Flinchams for about 6
I
months.
still got him, bro. 7 years going, I feel like.
I'm back.
7 years.
I'm back. Cam Smith.
No, your short game looked good last
did?
week. Yes.
Man,
You had some nice
I needed
ones.
to hear that.
No,
Your technique is nice.
chipping off of past palms like cheating, though.
Yeah.
It really
And
is.
Zoja too.
Yeah, it's the same
Pablo
shit.
Creek.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never misstruck one at Pablo Creek. They're
Really?
so pure.
All right, so coaching, I feel like TrackMan and technology has brought, like, everyone almost coaches the same stuff. Whereas then you go into short game, the TrackMan kind of goes away.
I've never used TrackMan or Flight Scope or any of those coaching a lesson.
I feel like it's like a lost art. Like short game coaching is the last form of real coaching we have now, because
feel.
everything is done by a machine almost. I mean, that thing, if you know what you're looking at, it coaches yourself.
Well, and even putting, the Quintic and the Sam Putter Lab, like all that stuff.
Great. Yeah.
It's amazing, like how deep these people are diving into like a putting stroke, which is literally probably this far, right? To me, when
fine line with all that though, you gotta. I joke so this. Everyone's got two hands with their different fingerprints. That stuff could send people completely down the wrong road.
Yeah.
So it's like it needs to be like a personality test almost with some of these people that are going to.
So
use
what road are you going down with that kind of stuff? Like when you're helping Keith Mitchell, are you just, is he hopping in a bunker and you're taking a video and you're just like, hey, right here, just tweak this a little bit? Is it more down that line, or?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I mean, with Keith, like there's certain areas, like we've been working together for a year and a half or so, and there's certain areas where I'm like, okay, don't overdo this, right? Because he has a tendency to want to, hey, I give him some type of information and then he just like beats it, right? And works hard at it. And so I think for him, it's always about getting him just sort of within the area that's playable, right? If he starts dragging it too far to the inside, then it's like we got to get it back a little more in front of him. But yeah, it's always keeping him within that nice little window, but it's a little bit of a video checkup. Sometimes it's one of those things where you just look at the ball flight and you can tell immediately if he's clipping it well or not. Or you listen to the sound through the bunker. If it's slow through the sand and you can kind of hear it and it's not that nice crispy fast thump.
Bunkers, you can always just have to watch. You hear it. But my coach was the same. He's always like 5 technique, 5 feel. You don't want to lose your element of feel. Maybe that was my silly game or whatever, but you see some guys start working on stuff and they just go way too far.
Yeah.
Where did you hone where did you develop your short game? The Bermuda grass of
Hawaii.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always pretty good at short game, and I was never a great ball striker, but I was like, I just knew how to get it in the hole. And then I would say putting wise, I took a deep dive into the sports psychology kind of area of it, which then I went into, like, I had wrist surgery right after college and I had to take like 6 months off. And so I'd met a sports psychologist named Don Green, genius of a guy. And he helped me to like start reading all these books. So I probably read 25 books in the next 6 months and we'd talk about them sort of every week. Anyway, the first time that I got like my cast off and I got the clearance to like actually do some putting, I was able to like start putting some of these philosophies of how to input stuff into my brain in play on the golf course. And so we went to this terrible Muni golf course in Hawaii where the worst Bermuda greens you've ever seen, right?
What's it called?
Like Hawaii Kai par 3.
Is that the one on the
right by Sandy Beach?
What's the one that I've played?
Alawai.
Yeah,
probably.
that's the one I've played.
Yeah, Alawai usually has decent greens, but
Yeah.
that's where I grew up, at Alawai. But anyway, we went to Hawaii Kai par 3 and he just says, all right, let's walk you through like a routine. And so dropped like a 15, 20 footer and 3 balls. And he says, all right, step in there and really dive into the visuals, really dive into the feels and start to see what this ball is going to do from behind it. And then as you walk into it, start seeing it, what it's going to do on the way into the hole. So I started diving into it, and he's like, now go ahead and take a rehearsal stroke, right? He never called it a practice stroke because he came from like Juilliard School of Music, where he was teaching, artists and performers. And so they call it dress rehearsal, right? They don't call it, hey, this is your
dress practice.
It's not practice.
Yeah.
No. So you're up there rehearsing it. And so anyway, so I did. So I took the rehearsal stroke. And he said, you're not allowed to step into the putt until you've made your rehearsal stroke, right? So he sort of coined it like a green light or a red light. So if you got a green light or a red light, like if you make the stroke and you're like, no, that one was a little short, or I missed that one left, you got to take another rehearsal stroke. So it really
I'd be there
forced
for
you
a long time,
right? And so he like it probably took me 6, 7, 8 rehearsal strokes before I could step in. And once I stepped in, he's like, just repeat. And so I stepped in and I repeated it, hooped it from like 15 feet.
So it's
and
like
on terrible
All in
greens
right
too.
there.
But that's like having intention on your rehearsal.
Yeah,
which
exactly
makes
right.
sense. What are you know just here just scrubbing back and forth?
So I did it. I did it 3 more times. I made the first one. I made the second one. I lipped the third one out, and I'm like, "There's something to this, right? There's really something to like." And you look at what Tiger did, and there's. I always go back to like that putt he made at Torrey on 18 in 2008. And you're like, "There's no
It lips
way
out for everyone
Right.
else.
for everybody else that lips out, but there's something." I hate to use the term like magical, but there's some type of magic that Tiger's using that I felt like I was accessing when I was playing, and when I led the tour in putting a couple of years. I had streaks where I went like 350 something holes without a 3-putt. Like I did some magical stuff on the greens, and I felt like that was part of
Your
my
secret
magic
weapon right
Yeah, it
there.
was like
Yeah.
my routine, and then my feels and my visuals and stuff like that.
What books were you reading?
Ton of stuff.
What drugs were you doing?
Ton of stuff by Wayne Dyer.
Early on
Dyer.
the
Ton of stuff by Wayne Dwyer.
Wayne Dyer.
Wayne
Yeah,
Dyer.
he passed away, but he wrote a ton of stuff. I read a bunch of stuff by Maxwell Maltz, Psychocybernetics.
oh yeah, I've listened to half of that.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff as to how to program your brain. And so when we talk about putting, like I don't use any Quintic, I don't use any of that stuff, because I think the stroke is only this far.
Yeah.
Right. So it's either set up, which is going to set you up to make a stroke this far.
I love that
Or it's routine.
style of teaching. I think
So
a lot of guys appreciate that.
That psychocybernetics, I think I maybe recommend to you. That's brilliant. It's deep.
Yeah. So it's not your typical like
No,
a golf sports psychology book like that. I didn't read any of those. Right. It was all about how to program your mind and how your mind works. So if you understand how your mind works, you can then start talking and programming it in the right way. So self-talk was a huge thing. So I would always make sure I was paying attention to what I was saying to myself, which has gotten worse and worse over the years. But
Yeah.
it's like that's
but there's a correlation.
You're
which
pretty
is-
hard on yourself, I think. I can see it in your body language on the course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think I used to be like that.
Yeah.
I think I've developed bad habits in that way.
Dude, I get
part
it.
of being beat up by the game, right?
There's definitely a correlation between strokes gain attitude, which we joke about, and putting. So there's guys that don't have a.
And it was hybrids in strokes gained attitude.
Yeah.
Like
But you
the
think of the
quality
guys that-
hybrid players are probably have the best attitude on the tour. I would think.
Yeah. And
But you think of Peter Malnati, guys like that roll are good. They all have great attitudes. I've seen, myself included, was a great putter in college. Another guy, Ewan Porter, an amazing, one of the best putters I've ever seen in my life. Talked himself into being a horrific player, doesn't play golf anymore. You can definitely be an amazing putter, technique, everything, and talk yourself into being a 7 handicap putter easily.
totally agree. Like Cam Smith, I think he has that magic where he's found that magic around the greens. Jordan Spieth is the same way, because you look at Jordan's stroke and you're like, it's an odd stroke when I watch him practice at Sony this year. He's like, hands got way forward, and then the club goes really low on the backstroke, like almost like he's making it go really low and then hitting up on it. And I'm like, it's not the most perfect stroke you've ever seen, but there's something magic about what he does.
Same with his chipping, dude. The guy leading edge chipper. You're not teaching. A lot of guys aren't teaching that.
Yeah.
Right?
Not shallow at all. But I remember a specific conversation I'll never forget, playing with Jeff Ogilvy early in my career. He'd won the US Open, obviously was top player in the world. And I thought it was amazing coming from him. Didn't have a great attitude. And he was like, Pricey, you just got to tell yourself you're the best putter. Vijay Singh had a similar conversation, and it was ironic because, 3 years later, Jeff was just back to beating himself up and was struggling with his game. But he said, I don't need to tell myself that I'm a good putter because I am. Like, not necessarily, but you just convinced yourself so much in the last 2 years. And you look at his putting stats, those years he played well, they were phenomenal. And then when he started struggling, I was playing golf with him too, and you've played a lot of golf with Jeff. Attitude is, I don't know, you can't quantify it, but it's got to be 50% of putting.
Yeah, and I think there's certain things that as golfers you grow up with an identity, right? So I've always had an identity that I feel like I'm a great putter and I feel like I'm great at short game. Mm-hmm. But even like this week I putted terribly. I didn't make a thing.
Yeah.
But I still have the mentality like I'm a great putter. How in the world do these putts not go in?
Yeah.
Like I never doubt myself.
It says
I'm a bad putter.
past Palom greens shouldn't count. It's just terrible.
Well, the speed is such an extra component, I think, on past Palom because
Like-
they're sticky.
they're like, when you
into down is so different.
when you drive a golf cart on Zoysia fairways and the wheels wiggle,
Yes.
that's what the ball does on
Yeah.
past Palom greens. Swear to God.
Yeah.
So when you get over So when you get over a challenging chip right now or something, and you're playing in a tournament, do you feel more pressure on that because you are the short game chef? Like I
1,000,000%. Yes.
I'm serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got something cooking. Let's
This is short sighted, sketchy lie. Like you can't look like an idiot here, Parker.
Yeah, and that's the hard part is that as I've dubbed myself this, Drew Stoltz was one of the guys. Like we were out playing, and he was sort of one of the first ones that sort of put it in my head. I was like, we were playing together, and I hit it short side, and he's like, oh, hey, everybody stop! The short game chef is about to do some magic recipe, and I'm like, oh my god! Like I created that for myself, and
Drew just wanted to get in your pocket.
Yes.
That's all he was worried about.
So it's definitely more pressure going out and doing it, and I'm not practicing it as much as I should, and I'm helping people that really struggle, and so I'm inputting a lot of shitty shots into my brain.
Yeah, but you're probably also like, I remember hearing Stricker when he lost his game. He said he got his game back in a deer bind and just hanging out hunting, like thinking about stuff. And when you're teaching it all the time, it probably has to help you, I would think.
I think it hurts. I think because
really?
you're teaching when you're a player, you're working on one or two things that you do. When you're teaching 15, 3, 4, 5 PGA Tour players, 5, 15 handicappers, you're going through the whole book of things that you're doing wrong. So then you get over there and you're out of what you do. You're into your daily job. I think all swing coaches actually probably go through that. Like Scott Hamilton, I bet you they can't go and just play golf. There's just things going on.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a lot of truth to that because I would say for me, all I had to focus on was like really one thing. It was like, all right, I'm going to try to feel some width here, and that's what I'm going to do to try to hit my nice little floaty pitch shot. And then all of a sudden I see, shots that I've never seen before because like you're always playing with good players, right? As a tour player, you're playing with good players. You're very rarely playing with really bad players on a consistent basis. And so for me now, when I'm teaching 10 to 3 every day, I'm seeing people that are struggling with their short game. That's why they're coming to me. And so I'm inputting all that stuff into my brain the same way that I was telling you, like all the stuff that you input into your brain, it gets in there, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so I'm seeing shots that I never thought were possible. And I think that's sort of the hard part of now going from like teaching and then to playing. It's like I stand over a shot, I'm like, boy, I've seen some bad shots that have started with this lie or started with this, what, you know what I mean?
How much do full swings, I'm talking about your higher level players, how much do you see their full swings carry into their short game, like their chipping and stuff? Do they have like tendencies? They run into the same issues? Does it?
Yeah, it's a great question because some people they really struggle with that. You look at some of the guys, Victor Hovland, Colin Morikawa.
Right, those guys thump it with their irons.
Thump it. So Matt Wolff, right?
So naturally, they might not be the best chippers because they're not going to be the best at using the bounce, right?
Correct. And usually it comes down to some shaft lean and how they deliver the club and their release pattern, and that usually starts from their takeaway. And so with those types of players,
the takeaway.
Yeah, that's usually where it starts because the swing's so short, right? Like you look at Matt Wolff, how he takes it so far outside to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's got time with the driver to then shallow it back out.
Right.
But with a little pitch shot, the second he goes outside, he's toast.
Okay.
Right. He's gonna stick that thing in the ground.
Yeah.
That's got to be hard from like 60 yards if you think.
Or even
like right
20.
next to the green for him. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's where it becomes difficult. The more the outside that thing gets, the more he's got to do something through impact. So opposite of that would be Matt Kuchar, who led the
rips
PGA,
it inside.
Led the PGA Tour in strokes gained around the green last year. Rips it to the inside, right?
Super shallow.
That carries through to his short game and stuff around the greens. And to me, that inside path is way better for hitting shots off of a tight lie.
Yeah, that's why I think like he plays well at Augusta every year, is because
Jonas,
you just separate at Augusta having a shallow pattern.
Cam's done that with me, higher hands and shallow in, because said they had flinchums, and it's
Timmy flinchums.
It certainly helps. I like it. Yeah.
So you're getting like all kinds of random videos sent to you and Instagram. I mean, like you mentioned, you're about to hit 100K. That's tough to do for really, any golfer.
And purely organic, right?
Purely organic, yeah. I mean,
you're a good-looking guy, but I mean, they're not.
No, I'm not showing tits and ass.
No,
but they're just loading you up.
Not
hey,
yet.
take a look at my short game.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy the people that have reached out. Like, I mean, from let's see, Warren Sapp and Anthony Hardaway, right? Like, there's some
sick.
like
I'll respond to that.
I had this week where I would like Dwayne Wade started following me, Penny Hardaway, Udonis Haslem, Matt Barnes, like all these basketball players, like all
That's
at once
one
started
locker room.
following me. It's like
they were all watching it together. They were like, "Who is this guy?"
But I mean, like golf transcends. It's like through every culture.
It's
now.
the great
really
catch-all.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, when you get that video, you can send it. You go to your messages and you just click them all. So that's maybe Dwayne Wade just sent it to everyone.
Yeah.
DJ Khaled.
DJ Khaled. Yeah, I need to get him in the kitchen. That'd be nice.
He'd be ideal for you, man.
He actually. I mean, it's cool how much he loves the game, right? Like, and how much he posts about golf.
It makes me feel good inside. It's like this is pure enjoyment right here.
I just smile every time he posts. It's
let's go golfing.
What's he going to do now?
I love that. Let's go golfing.
Where do you teach in Scottsdale?
A place called McCormick Ranch.
Oh,
yeah,
love that
That's
place.
where the qualifiers were.
That's where they qualify. So they have a back end of the range that's private. Scott Sackett, great guy, used to live out here actually.
Yeah.
Sackett kind of runs the back end of the range there, and there's a handful of us, but it's a sweet short game area, 70 yards of like runway, bunker, and it doesn't really get used very much. It's really cool.
How long have you lived there in Scottsdale?
Almost 20 years.
And Hawaii before that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you go back to Hawaii much?
Yeah, 4 times a year.
Did you ever play Mountain Shadows before they redid it?
Yes,
dude,
it was so good.
Oh, I play if I had one round left in my life. Mountain Shadows.
The old Mountain Shadows. Yeah. So I got some buddies. My Stay Grassy buddies are taking over a kind of quasi par 3 course, like par 61 course.
I'm telling you, there is.
Rolling Hills
I would rather play a sick par 3 than a sick golf course any day of the week.
I think that's where golf is trending, right?
Well, there's a 12-hole course inside the gate. The yards. It's great.
I'm actually filming there on Wednesday with the Golfer's Journal.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Where you said the turf's perfect.
Oh,
hopefully
sweet.
it doesn't rain between now and then. It shouldn't. It's great turf.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
but that's what it's amazing. Pre-COVID, when golf was sort of struggling, courses were amalgamating, closing down, memberships you could get in. That's what people. Time poor. So Dave Miller, our buddy, built this 12-hole course with a little couple of extra par 3s, and then COVID came, and now golf is insane. You can't get into memberships. People are trying to play 36 a day rather than 12, so sort of killed that vibe, but it's still really good, and I think for certain segments of the population, 9 holes, par 3s.
It's grabbing the crowd that learned at Top Golf, giving them an easy transition into par 3 golf, and then
another big thing.
Graduate to the regular golf course.
I didn't think
Top
of
Golf and COVID, like far out, crazy. Just bringing different ages, different sports.
Yeah. So how are you managing your time? Is it becoming pretty challenging?
It's hard. Yeah, my kids get mad at me for being on my phone all the time because I'm trying to.
Oh, it's not just me.
I'm trying to write back
Holy
to all
shit.
these people.
Yeah.
Sorry,
my wife will never listen to a podcast ever, but I'm gonna have to edit this clip and give it to her. It's not just me.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Is it you know, it's,
Like if you're at an event and you got 4 or 5 guys that you need to see that day, how's that shake out for you?
So I actually don't put myself in that situation. I try to make sure that I get all the work done with these guys before the week. I want, you know, we've all been on that side of it where it's like, I want to make sure that these players are going into the event with ownership of what they're doing around the greens.
Not looking for a Band-Aid on Wednesday.
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
With the amount of the
it's
entourage and the whole, like hey, I need a coach, I need a trainer, I need a massage therapist,
Yeah.
I need my agent there. You're like, oh my gosh,
How different is that
It's changed
today
so
from
much.
15 years
Just
ago?
10 years ago, yeah, it's changed.
it's changed a lot. And so I think people
too many egos on the range.
Well, I think the coaches definitely have egos. There's no doubt about that. And so I'm
Some.
I don't.
Some.
Yeah.
I'd say there's lots that do. And there's like, you know, I mean, there's player poaching and all this stuff. It's like I want nothing to do with that. All I want to do is be able to
no
help,
drama.
help my
in the short
drama.
Game chef camp.
No.
Okay, so with you building this huge audience, you said something like 10 to 3. Obviously, you're traveling. Like, what do you do to these people that are you saying, look, I don't have time? Like, are you pushing people out, or you're like, hey, 4 weeks from now,
Yeah.
you just do what you can, I guess?
Yeah, it's usually something like that with how much I'm traveling and how busy the schedule is. You know, I send people to the website. I'm like, look, I put everything there.
It's like a subscription model?
It's a subscription model.
Awesome.
And so it's like, hey, go to the website, check it out. There's 130 plus videos on there. I walk you through all my philosophies, and it's all short form videos between a minute and 6 minutes each video, and I just walk you through chronologically as to how to.
And what's it cost to join this?
It's like $47 a month or $470 for the year.
No brainer.
And my like an
That's
hour.
That's 1 hour with a coach.
Well, yeah, my 1 hour is $500 an hour, so
Yeah.
it's less than an hour.
Alright.
So you'd get.
I'll be subscribing
13
in
hours,
about 15 minutes.
It's a no-brainer in my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
And so I'm trying to create I'm trying to create a good community on there too. So there's a private Discord channel that's associated with the website. So you once you sign into the website, you get access to the Discord channel. You can upload videos there, and I'll write comments and be able to help people with certain things on the Discord. But trying to create a great short game community where people can feel comfortable to put out there some questions and have things answered in a proper way. Because I just think, you know, there's been tons of misinformation or myths that have been created in the short game over the last 40 years.
Yeah.
It's still being put out there today, right? My favorite one is probably like, hey, you know, if you're trying to hit a pitch shot or chip shot, make sure you get 80% of your weight forward. Make sure your hands are forward. Make sure the ball position's back. I'm like, I mean, that's just
make sure you stab the shit out of it. Yeah.
Like, let's dig that leading edge in there even more.
But it is crazy, like, obviously talent and strong nerves and maybe naivety too. Like, there's plenty of good tour players too. This is going to segue into like your videos, but if you just watch tour players chip, you're not necessarily going to learn much, because like, so I think Scotty Scheffler, like, obviously the guy's the man, but that technique I wouldn't necessarily copy. It's digging.
I couldn't agree more. He's done really well with it, but I also think that there's, you know, he's unbelievably talented, and he's got those young nerves, and so I that would not be one to copy in my mind. I'd much rather copy Cam Smith. I think he's unbelievable. Jordan has actually worked on getting less.
He's
steep.
in between.
The cool thing about him is that he goes from like being really steep when he needs to then being really shallow as well. He's insane. So, but I would say for the most part, like I would say Keith Mitchell is probably my model, which I sort of modeled it after like Stricker, Jason Day, Kuchar, like those type of guys. So Keith, I would say, is my model for
if Keith wasn't so good looking, would he still be your model?
What about Keith's
the Cashmere Keith?
Yeah.
Keith's caddy is a model.
Yeah.
Lamonte's in the
John the Body.
John Lamonte's in the FootJoy commercials.
I mean, that guy is just.
He went from Adam Scott to Keith
unit.
Mitchell.
Yeah.
John Lamonte's like, he did caddy for me for 1 year in 11, and then from there it's like I'm only going with good-looking people. He learned a lot of lessons from me. I'll start at one of the ugliest humans on earth, and then I'm just gonna go. And now he's just picking them off. He's like a gold digger. He's just picking the best looking golfers.
He's got a good bag right now, man. That Keith's a stud.
Well, and you look at Keith. He's been a top 10 driver of the golf ball right on the planet since he got on the PGA Tour.
So what have you done? What kind of changes have you made with him? Setup? Is it all like?
Some of it's been So it's been explaining, like with Keith, it's been explaining the hows and the whys of why things work certain ways. So setup is going to dictate how you're going to take it back, which is going to dictate then how you bring it through. So we've just gone in depth as to the hows and the whys, and then I've given him the freedom to be able to develop his own feels from that. And so I think that's been the best part about our relationship, has been that I give him sort of, hey, these are sort of the parameters and where I need you to sort of understand and where you should probably stay within these parameters. But within that, you go find your feels to get there. I'll give you like a Rolodex of like things that have worked for me in the past.
It's got to be your.
But it's got to be your feels.
But how crazy is that every student you have to teach differently? You know what I mean? Like some learn by you, like maybe Keith, you have to go and explain how and why you got into the situation, where a guy like Ches Reavie, maybe he understands completely, and it's just like you're working on the same sort of rhythm style.
Yeah, and some people will develop it more through feels. Some people you have to explain. Some people you have to show. Some people you have to like literally move them, right? I mean, you gotta move their body to show them how it's supposed to happen. So there's a variety of ways, and as a coach, your job, like I always say, like my job is as a coach to say the same thing like 19 different ways.
That's
until
a commentator.
Yeah, until it clicks with somebody. Once it resonates, then they got it. You see the look in their eye. They're like, "Oh, okay, I got it." Yeah. And some people it takes real quick, and then other people you're like, "Man, I'm on the 97th way of explaining this."
But that's the cliche about coaching: is it better to know 100 things, have the best brain ever, but only be able to explain it one way, or know one thing and explain it 100 ways? Obviously, it's the second way. There's crazy talented coaches that know too much. I wouldn't name any, but I know a few that I could. And I just don't think they have a way to teach Ches Reavie versus Keith Mitchell versus Matt Jones versus Matt Every. That's a unique ability that no one talks about.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a difference between teaching and coaching. My best coach, Buddy Alexander, for me, I mean, we've talked about it before, but he's not a PGA pro. He's not a but he'd been through it all, and he'd seen a ton. He knows a ton, and the way he would communicate it to me was all time, man. I mean, what just get in there and do it.
It's communication.
Yeah.
But doesn't that say? And I don't think I've ever shaken the guy's hand. I've heard him giving lessons, but Butch Harmon, I think, seems to be able to do that as good as anyone. I've heard he was teaching Jimmy Walker and just telling him how good of a driver he was. Like his stats were there. Like obviously wasn't scoring good, but I don't know if it's positive reinforcement. I guess it's different for every client, but.
Well, so Keith had me come out to Shriners in the fall this year, and we went through. We spent a couple days just checking in. He had a bit of time off after the playoffs, and it was just checking in to get things started. Mm-hmm. And so he said, "Come out, like let's work on it." So we did for a couple days, and at the end of the couple days, I'm like, "Dude, all I'm gonna do this year is remind you how good you are at short game," because I think that's one of the things where his stats had shown that he was not very good at short game from his first 5 years on tour. And then now I'm looking at all of how he's performing and what his motion looks like. And I just told him, I'm like, my job this year is going to just be to remind you how great you are at short game.
Mm-hmm. But the golfers are crazy. Your perception of yourself can change with one shot. You can go, I'm the greatest chipper, and you hit one bad shot that you've, it's like your own personal little, I really want to get this. I keep going over the bunk or whatever, and you hit one, and you're like, I'm the fucking worst chipper. Why do I play golf? How am I ever going to... There's another facet, they use sports psychologists, but it is. So the reminder and the reinforcement...
Well, self-talk is poison.
It can be
a great weapon.
Self-building, right? And I think like Max Homa has that great quote where he's like, we're all one shot away from feeling like we can win the Masters, but you're also one shot away from feeling like you could retire.
Yeah.
Like when you hold those 15 footers with the guy, green or whatever, you're probably like, yeah, this is going to be pretty cool. I'm going to be dueling it out with Tiger Woods for the next
and
3 years at Majors.
Yeah, and so like I never
We've
won.
all felt that, by the way. I know you felt that.
So I never won in college. I think I finished second once or twice, but I never
UCLA?
At UCLA. Right. Never won in college. But then my first couple years out as a tour player on the mini tours, I won on the Hooters Tour, the Gateway Tour, the Tight Lies Tour, the Spanos Tour. I won on every major mini tour out there, and then get to the Korn Ferry Tour, and I had 2 second place finishes my first year out, and then go to the PGA Tour, and I got through Q School a couple of times, and then I win my second year on tour. So it was just like a steady, like I was like
stock was rising.
I mean, you've got these All-American, plaques here. I'm like, I never got one of those, right?
Really?
I never did. No,
I
wasn't even close.
Unfortunately, that doesn't buy you nice.
Not even close.
Well, I finished 16th at Nationals, right?
That's pretty good.
I think top 15 gets.
Where was that at?
At Duke.
Okay, the Gators won that year.
Yeah, that was the year before I came.
I think so. Yeah.
Nick Gillum.
Nick Gillum.
Yeah.
But it was PGA Tour or bust though. You wanted to be a professional golfer.
Yeah, I mean, I went to school and got a sociology degree.
Right.
Yeah.
But whatever has the least amount of math.
What's more important than winning in college is improving.
Right.
As you
Absolutely.
said, there's plenty of guys I could think. Gary Woodland. I just didn't think he was that good in college, and he started later, but he was improving. Kevin Kisner. I used to think, man, that guy, I probably wouldn't play golf if I hit it like that. And the guy's a stud. But he improved every year. I didn't, because I had a high, which I still did through my golf pro career.
Yeah.
But I thought I was good. I thought Ryan Moore and Spencer Levine were the only 2 better putters than me. Hence, I was a great putter.
Yeah.
But it's just change. You can think that even if you're a poor putter. Like, why wouldn't you? It's tricking, but the second part of your brain doesn't know the difference. The subconscious. So it's amazing what you just keep improving.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like I worked on the most, was understanding how to program my subconscious so that I could believe in myself in those high stress moments, and that I did feel like I was feeding my brain the right things to then help me perform. I went to Q School and I was like, I'm gonna own this place.
Chris Stroud, it works.
Wow.
He would probably admit you that he does it because your subconscious doesn't know. Chris Stroud, Melnady, there's a correlation between guys that do it.
Got to be good at lying to yourself.
Yeah. I always think that tour
good.
Players are the most delusional people on the planet.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
Everyone thinks they're better than they are, but you have to. Like, that's a prerequisite,
think the other way.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some do, but I
once
think
you
that
start
catches
thinking
up.
the other way,
It catches up to you.
You're fucked.
Yeah.
I think you got to think you're better than you are.
100%.
You have to.
But internally, externally is almost the other way. That's the thing I said about Cam Smith. Won't tell anyone he's good. Won't even tell anyone he's a golfer. But inside, like, they clearly, you've watched him play. But I think the external part, which some of the names we just mentioned may do that, it's like sitting in a corner and doing it for a minute, telling yourself. It's hard to do. Like the joke about the actors, like training in the mirror. Try and act out a scene in front of a mirror. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard to do.
Oh, I did those exercises where I would say things in the mirror to tell myself how good I am at
Manifest.
driving. Yeah. And it feels really awkward, and it's like so bizarre, but it really helps.
Yeah.
Couldn't recommend it more.
Yeah, but it's hard to, like, a personality wise, like, how do you take that bravado and like looking in the mirror and being like, I'm the best driver of the golf ball on the planet. Nobody's better than me. I'm gonna make every single putt today, and then taking that and then just storing it on the inside and then not having it be external. I think that's a hard quality to have.
Yeah, but that's the way to do it, because I feel like
absolutely.
external is a little bit like insecurity.
Yeah, for sure.
So
we all know a handful of those guys.
we won't mention names.
Oh yeah.
A few that live out in Scottsdale.
So you're doing a little announcing, right?
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of PGA Tour Live, which is fun to kind of stay connected to the game, and I feel like one of the great skills about that is learning how to take something, a thought or an idea that you've got, and put it into 20 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds.
Oh, there's an art to it.
There's an art to it.
Just start talking and figure it out sometimes.
But you are perfect for, I think, for that PGA Tour Live model where there is a lot of time in between and techniques. A lot of times, Matt and myself also do it. they get the telestrator and they get technique, and I'm like, oh shit, like I full balk up because I'm not into the swing much, and I can't. Yeah, bunkers, a few things like basic.
Yeah, there's certain things where it's fine,
but man, you can go to town around the greens. Like you're a perfect role for that.
Yeah, I mean that part of it's been fun because a lot of the hosts that I have, they know sort of my background.
Yeah.
And they're like, and they'll just tee me up, and they'll be like, as like Jordan Spieth is walking up to hit a bunker shot, they're like, all right, Parker, walk us through what's he got here. And then I have 2 minutes basically of setting up.
They went to broadcast school to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's great. Like I think you and I could not do the same, not even close to job.
Oh hell no! Certain things I can, but like if they throw up Justin Thomas hitting the three wood, I mean, what the fuck am I going to tell you? Like, hey kid,
looks great.
Do that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, like he's jumping his feet off, but I don't know how to explain the ground force and why it's good. It doesn't look good slowed down, so I don't know. But that must be fun for you to have the knowledge yourself, like a Brett Rumford, my coach Gary Barter. Like they could just go for hours. You've only got the minute, but it's cool to have that knowledge up there.
Yeah, and I think like you were asking earlier about some of my influences on short game, and yeah, a lot of it came from just being creative in Hawaii, but. Also, I mean, I was really fortunate to get to spend a lot of time with Paul Azinger, who...
Oh, I love that guy, dude. He's got some... He's like Buddy. I'm telling you. He's got pearls for days.
So many pearls.
He taught me the one about... okay, if you have a putt in it, and if you're a righty and it's a left to right putt, the line...
Black and white?
Yeah, like, so if the curve... So, like, say this is the hole, and the curve is here... You trace the line keeps going, so you need to start when you go into the putt, you need to start from the other side of the line, so it's way right of the ball to cross over to open yourself up to the line. I mean, I learned that at like 25.
Mean, yeah. Like that one's even, it's so hard to explain to somebody like how that actually works.
Yeah, like that people listening to this right now have no fucking clue.
No idea.
He did a series with the Golf Channel, right?
Yeah, he did a short
watch
game
it. It was
series.
unbelievable. I can't believe
he did it with Brandel.
They don't like rerun that stuff.
But that stuff is
so
priceless, dude, and that's like what's gonna separate you, I think.
So wait, walking into a putt, you start on the opposing line. So
so if you're a right-hander, usually right-handers putt right to left is good.
Parker's going to put a 2-minute clip on his website.
They're not closing in; they're walking into the line. Okay,
right. I got it.
But if you start on a left to right putt.
With going straight into it, you're already missing it low. You're already set up to be low.
Yes. Yeah.
So your eyes are looking right.
Your eyes and feet are looking to the right, or looking at the hole, right? So you walk into it this way when you should be looking 6 inches left of it. So you should be walking into it that way.
I remember you talking about putting the styrofoam cup for long putts, so you have better depth perception. Clearly, you can't do it on the course, but to train speed, it's much easier. Like 10 the pin because you can see something rather than 30 feet away, and you see a lot of PGA Tour players now with the new rule. I think almost all guys outside 30 feet are leaving the pin in.
Well, it's interesting. Like Zinger would put a bottle of water in there, and he'd be like, I mean, if you're from 10 feet, he's like,
you can't miss that.
You can't miss it. He's like, it's way easier to hit something above ground than it is to try to hit something below ground.
I learned that on that golf channel.
Man, that's because like you just make so many more freer strokes.
Hey, you know what? TrackMan's not teaching you that.
No, but it's funny to look at like golf Twitter. And they roast Zinger for his comments, and it's like, man, these people have no idea where his knowledge is coming from. A place of he dug it out of the dirt. I mean, he had some good mentors, but man, that guy dug it out of the dirt. And
another Bermuda grass guy growing up, Florida guy.
And he was so smart to be able to catalog what worked and what didn't for golf swing, pitching, putting, mental stuff. Like that's what I feel like he was so good at. Was like I remember having dinner with McLachlin one time 10 years ago, and I was like, hey, I've been hanging out with Paul Azinger, like, what's your take on him? He's like, top 3 golf IQ I've ever been around. And I was like, wow, for Phil to say that is pretty high praise, right? So I think Paul has gone through, dug it out of the dirt, and then just sort of documented how things that worked and things that didn't.
That's who you want commentating. No offense, but Adam Scott, who's good technique, like what can they really teach you? Like they're perfect. You know what I mean? But the people that knock Azing are the same people that knock Johnny Miller. And I had this phrase, or maybe I put on Twitter. I was like, be careful what you wish for. And I think a lot of those people, when Johnny Miller went away, were like,
I missed Johnny Miller.
I wish I would hear Johnny Miller berating some guy like. people are all over it. You're not going to please everyone, but I think Azinger was the absolute perfect replacement. Who else could you put in there?
Who else can you get in there? They're fighting a battle right now, trying to get the.
They're finding a hard middle ground, trying to they get run some guys and they bring in other guys who are playing. Azinger is the opposite of playing. I think.
Well, the cool thing about Zinger is that he always gives the players the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. So he's always pro player. So if a guy's doing whatever, he's going to be like, man, this was a difficult shot. It was a hard one to pull off, but maybe the nerves got the best of him.
Right.
I
He's
just
been
think,
in those situations. He's been over the ball in those situations. Yes.
he tells great stories where you're just like, man, I was so nervous I couldn't even form spit. Yeah. Right. Like he told this one great story about being at the Ryder Cup, and he was there getting ready for his singles match, and he's sitting right next to Phil, and Phil is housing like pancake after pancake and like bacon, eggs, the whole thing. And Zinger's like, man, I was eating cornflakes one at a time, and Phil's just housing food. He's like, that's how nervous I was, but that's how comfortable Phil was in that situation. I'm like, unless you've been in that spot, you can't talk about like what these guys are dealing with and Kurt Kitayama trying to close out a golf tournament yesterday. You have no idea how these guys feel until you've been in that spot.
Yeah, I agree. I have a hard time listening to anyone try to explain it if they haven't.
That's like that Netflix one, but we talked about it. People trying to explain stuff that have
never
made a par.
It just drives me nuts.
That's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you know? Yeah.
Have you gotten your assignment for this week? You can be following some featured groups.
Yeah, featured groups this week. I'm gonna head out to the golf course this afternoon, spend a little time with Ches, check in with Keith, and see what the golf course looks like. I think it'll be,
Heard it's great.
Yeah.
It's just covered in overseed. Perfect.
Guaranteed. It's going to be perfect. Yeah, guys are going to be hitting nice spinners. Depends on the weather here's been wet or not really.
No, we had
pretty dry, bro.
Half an inch Saturday, which was probably like exactly what they wanted because it was quite warm before that. The course should be 100.
Yeah, 100. So they'll be able to get those greens firm.
Yeah.
They should.
Do you think? Looking at the short games on the special raw short games on tour, I feel like most of those guys grew up on Bermuda grass. Do you think there's a correlation to the rawest of short games on the tour, the Abe Answers, the who else am I missing?
Yeah, Jordan Spieth.
Spieth.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think
there has to be with the grain part?
You're just getting squirrely lies. You just kind of figure it out over time. I feel like you never hear of a guy with a 6 short game coming out of Palm Springs.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a really good point.
Do you remember Corn Ferry? We used to go to Louisiana early, and scabby, non-overseeded Bermuda. And I would say, if you're walking around seeing anyone chipping well, they're going to play on the PGA Tour because that's the hardest. And that's going to what you say. Like, that's the rawest dog shit Bermuda in March.
Muddy.
Yeah, if you can figure it out there.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would say, I'd say there's probably a correlation that I don't think I've taken a dive into looking at where guys grew up as to how their short games are. But I would say, there's probably a correlation to guys that grew up on Bermuda that had to figure out how to get shallow with it, or they just got really good at being steep too. Because I mean, like Scotty Scheffler on the steeper side. Right now, I would say his short game has been pretty money.
It's unbelievable.
But he is on the steeper side, and I think, in my mind, I think that may come back to haunt him, or maybe he will decide to get a bit shallower with his short game shots down the road. But at this moment, it's been working really well for him. But I know he's again one of those guys that's sort of grown up in that Texas area.
If he didn't grow up with that technique on Bermuda, he wouldn't be where that's. If he grew up in Palm Springs with that chipping action, he would struggle. The fact that he's been chipping
he might not have that chipping action.
Yeah, he might have different action, but the fact that he's been chipping with that technique since he was 7 on Bermuda is why he gets through all sort of grass.
I mean, Aussies, it's all Bermuda down there, right?
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, like my 2 favorite short games on tour are Abe Answers and Jeff Ogilvy. Is like watching his action. I love his action, dude. Him out of a bunker, like prime Jeff Ogilvy, was sick.
All the Allen,
Jason Day, Aaron Price, all great short games.
Mm-hmm.
Aussies are the best out of the sand.
Good amateur short game.
Why do all lefties have good short games?
I would say I would go like I would dial that into to get it even narrower.
Creative.
I think all lefties have great putting strokes.
Yeah.
I'm yet to see a left-hander who doesn't have a silky smooth putting stroke. I don't know why that is, but
It's a science experiment.
yeah, there's something about how the brain works and
Yeah.
whatever.
Neil deGrasse
More artistic,
Tyson,
I think.
Yeah,
Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's probably a big follower of the podcast. If he can work out why we haven't seen any lefties with a shit stroke, let us know. Quantify it.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah,
just
you
got
rarely
dropped
see.
in
I mean,
it.
I think Phil recently has gone to some different grips and whatnot, but for the most part, you see lefties that are just like they just have great
They're
strokes.
pure as
Yeah.
shit.
So pure.
Pure as shit.
Mike Weir, Bob Char, like you go down the list of all the lefties that have played the PGA Tour. They got some great putting strokes.
Harmon's a great putter.
That guy can roll it.
Yeah, you can. All right, man. Hey, thanks for coming in. You're the
Yeah, man.
best.
That
This
was
is
that
great.
was great.
We've had a good we've had some good looking guests on our show.
I know, just absolute studs.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. I'm like to even it out.
Even it out.
Okay. I'm just here for the GPA. Bring it up.
Well, love learning there, Parker. I mean, getting to know you and hear your story, and much continued success with your new website, and Short Game Chefs continuing to blow up. It's a great follow. I don't know when we jumped in the game, but I've been seeing your stuff for a while. It's great.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
deal of the century too. I mean, that is a goddamn steal for
Yeah.
a year of product.
Well, shit. Like even one
If
month.
you're
get
if
on
you're
for 1
serious
month,
about
I'm sure
getting better with your short game, steal.
That's in my mind. It is a steal.
I'm doing it
Yeah.
when we
It's a
get
no-brainer.
my phone.
I text my wife. She's already got the early subscription.
Okay.
So, all right, but thank you very much for being on.
Yeah,
It's
you
awesome.
guys got it. Love
Thanks,
being
dude.
with you.
All right, cheers.